time. Like,
What denomination were you?
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal. I love your shoes. They're super cute.
I just called bullshit on
We,
that right out the gate.
We're ready?
We rolling.
Cool.
Sweet.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Get my notes. I'm already breaking 2 of Neve's rules. I have my phone out and my shoes off.
I'm ready for
And my
this.
feet up in the chair.
Ready for why I had to sign this liability waiver.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, hey, Alice. Fancy seeing you here. Welcome back. You come at a momentous time. We have Anastasia Elliot and Derek Jones joining us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having
Thank you
us.
for having us.
You can check Anastasia Elliot at March 23rd at the East Room. Who else is on that one?
This amazing artist named Maine. She's from Australia and she's coming over here from
Nice.
Australia. And
Athena. She's a local Nashville
Yes.
artist who will be playing her first show.
It's her
And
very first show. She's very cool.
our
Nice.
friends in the band Moonlight Drowns.
Oh, yeah. I know Chris. And,
love
yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun night.
I told him he co-hosts this sometimes. I told him
Really?
we were
No
doing
way.
this, and he was like, "Fuck, I hate that I'm missing that." He's like, "Let me know how it goes."
Aw.
Oh,
But
that's awesome.
yeah,
He's
we do like
involved in
a
everything.
say what?
He's involved in everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we do kind of like a rotating cast here, so like
That's
I'll have just
awesome.
different people pop in and out.
That's cool.
So how long have you guys been performing?
Oh man. I've been performing I think my whole life, but this particular album cycle since right before COVID was our first tour, and then that obviously shut us down for a bit, and then this past year we played a lot in Nashville, and now we're working our way back out. So
Nice.
my whole life performing, yes.
By the time it hasn't happened yet, but the time this goes up, Bones will be out.
Yes, you will.
So that's exciting. You've been working on song and video, which is dope. I guess all of that's finished at this point.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this album has been in the works for a very long time, so we're excited for her to finally make her way into the world. But Bones is the 5th single off this record. And then
Gotcha.
the full project will be out in May.
What kind of music were you like subjected to as a kid?
We listened to a lot of the powerful 80s females, and like Annie Lennox and Pat Benatar and Taylor Dane, and I loved all of the vocalists that were strong, and Kate Bush, the ones that
Yeah.
were very eccentric, and still like that was what was mainstream at the time. And of course, like David Bowie and the Talking Heads and Elton John and Queen. That was like the theatrical artists.
So your parents had good music.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Sometimes country. I remember a lot of country music, but that didn't stick.
Did your parents have good music in the house?
No. My mother was super religious and wouldn't let us listen to secular music, so I would sneak a Walkman at night and listen to like oldies radio, and became obsessed with like Elvis and like B.B. King.
Tell
Like
them about your first CD you bought.
Mariah Carey. Yeah, but like yes, but when I was a child
love it.
and not knowing anything, I would buy things based on their album covers, CD covers, and my dad was like way more lenient, and he listened to like a lot of like stuff that she's talking about, like Eurythmics and Pat Benatar or those kind of things. So I went to the album store and bought Mariah Carey, but it was more because of the album cover, and I really had no knowledge of music beyond the small little bubble that I was put in at first. So like I bought that album and I loved her voice and everything, but like as time went on, like I mean, I'm a music obsessive. I listen to music like I breathe. You know what I mean?
I was lucky to have my parents have a very awesome musical bubble, because I don't think I even knew about like myself being able to discover music until like well into like my high school years, because I just listened to whatever was happening in the house. But I mean, I guess around like middle school, I fell in love with like Evanescence and what was her name? Michelle Branch. I definitely had Michelle Branch.
Michelle
first.
Branch.
And the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney, they definitely were in my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. My Chemical Romance.
Mm-hmm. I loved Green Day too.
Evanescence. Green Day.
Green Day, my whole
Yeah.
my whole doors. I had 2 double door closet doors that were just all Billy Joel Armstrong's face.
Nice. This one's like kind of hard to admit, but like Good Charlotte was a really big one.
I loved Good Charlotte. I probably, if you played one of their songs, I probably would remember all the words.
Yeah, same. So I know this is like a complete segue fastball, but like if you had, can you define magic? It's a big question.
It's a question I want to give you a good answer to. I think that magic is anything that stirs a level of wonderment and surprise in you.
So magic is...
Things we consider magical, I think, are things that are unexpected or unexplained, or they may not always even be magic. Like if you think about what people considered magical, like way back in the day, like witches and stuff, like a lot of the times it was just herbalism and, things that now are more normal to us, or, unexplained scientific things. I think it's just something that takes us out of our everyday mundane existence and makes our brain expand in some way, or surprises us.
So what it sounds to me like it's kind of like in the eye of the beholder almost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you have some kind of reaction to like a place or a person or an event, it's like that relationship between that thing and you is magical. But like let's say that someone else watches the same thing and doesn't have that, so that is that kind of it's in the connection there.
Absolutely. I think it's the connection and personal idea about like kind of magic probably goes against your ideas that you've already got about something. Like it's something that like is going to change you in some way. Like I'm obsessed with magic, like actual like magic tricks and stuff. Like I don't want to know how any of it works but I love meeting magicians. I love going to magic clubs. I love watching magic
like sleight
shows.
of hand?
All of it.
Yeah.
Anything magical, I freaking love it. And I'm now friends with a lot of magicians, like very talented ones, and I'm like, never tell me how you do a trick. Like I interviewed 2 mentalists. They're the top mentalists duo in the world, and they were fascinating, and they pull off things that like I can't even imagine. And to them, like it's a trick. It's not magic, but to me, it's like it makes me feel like a kid again.
Yeah, that's actually a really good example. So to them, that's not magic, but that's what, to you, it's magic. So
but to them, watching, a musical performance of somebody who can do something absolutely insane, like that may be their version of magic.
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
Well, what you do is definitely magic, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Where do you think art comes from?
I think, God, you've got great questions. I'm just going to fist bump you right there. Way to have a good interview prepared. I think art is our desire to express ourselves. Again, I think it's kind of like connection. It's the connection and how we are able to like take all of the mess that's in here and show that to the world. But like, there's plenty of things that you could look at and probably not think is very cool art that I could look at and think was some of the coolest shit ever made. So
that starts with like there's something going on in you, and that's like you kind of like explaining to other people what
I'd
that's
say
like.
Art is magic, and they go hand in hand, and they probably come from a very similar place.
I like to bring those things up together because it turns out it's like, oh wait, they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Art is so many things. I mean, art is healing, and it's healing. It's expressive. It can take you on your own journey. In my case, like I was talking to him about earlier, for me, sometimes art manifests things in my life. Like for me, it can be like a manifestation tool, whether I like that or not, whether that's positive or not.
Oh yeah, and the negative as well. Yeah, for sure. It's like, yep, yeah. I think it's kind of like when I was a kid, and my mom was talking about drugs, but I think it applies to magic too. She's
Aren't
talking.
drugs magic?
Yeah, same thing.
Aren't drugs
right?
a vehicle to
Yeah.
magic?
Yes.
more
And
magic.
art. Lots of art.
To
And
more
art.
boundaries,
Yeah.
like being dissolved in your mind. It's access to magic.
Yeah. She was describing it like if your dad has like power tools locked in his like in a shed somewhere, and it's like if you get a hold of that as a kid and you have a flamethrower, it's like you can do a lot of things with that, but you could also really hurt yourself or cause damage to something. And it's like I like that as magic and psychedelics and other drugs are kind of like that, where it's like you can do things with this, but unless you like are studied on it and know what you're doing, then it's like you really hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like that's why it's kind of on a top shelf where you can't reach it.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
comes great responsibility.
Yeah. Spider-Man shit.
True.
Yeah, to me it's like I don't really know what that is exactly, like where it comes from, like whether that starts with me or it starts somewhere else.
I think it starts somewhere else. I think anytime I'm creating, I'm not always thinking about what it's going to be in the end. It feels more like a channeling. I think even when writing a song, like sometimes when you're coming up with melodies and then there'll be like gibberish words in there, and it almost feels like Michelangelo said about, the sculpture's already in the marble and he's just polishing it and finding it in the marble.
I love
think
that.
Songwriting for me is similar. Like I go with what I'm feeling. It's not always like, oh, I have this title and I want to write this song. Like it's never that way for me. It's just listening to the music and singing whatever melodies come to me and then finding its meaning in whatever it's trying to show me. I think sometimes when we think art comes from our brains first, it blocks the flow of what we could receive instead.
So it's very like intuitive in the moment kind of process for you.
Yeah.
Like
Even like, and when I allow it to be that, it flows a lot easier. Like when I write music, I also am thinking of all the visuals that are going to accompany it. And like when I am writing melodies, visuals sometimes come to me before lyrics even do. And that, to me, it's world building. Like that's how I approach making all of my art. It's building worlds.
when who did you say was saying that about the sculpture? Michelangelo. I really like that. It reminds me of something Lewis Carroll said, the Alice in Wonderland guy, that if you take care of the sound, then the meaning takes care of itself. And he meant that like about poetry, I guess, or about songwriting too, really. Basically, like if it sounds good, it makes sense. And there's a lot of truth in that.
I mean, I was classically trained as a pianist and opera singer, and when I started writing, I chose to abandon a lot of my knowledge about theory and what is correct. And even though I maybe can communicate on less technical terms now than I could many years ago, taking away that kind of like, this is what's right, this is the chords that like, should be in this kind of boundary, like it made me go and explore different places.
Yeah.
Like I may have the knowledge of the instrument, which is never going to leave, but the correct stuff can dissolve.
Now that you know the rules, you can appropriately break them. That's something that I've heard like said to me before. It's like I do poetry in a very, I don't follow stanzas or any like formula. And it's like I never studied poetry, and I don't care to, because a lot of poetry is really dry and boring to me, and I just don't care. And it's like but there's an argument to be made that it's like before you can break the rules, you got to know what they are.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not.
It depends on the thing, maybe, or how proficient you want to be at the thing. Like, a few weeks ago, I really wanted to build a throne. I've never woodworked in my life, and I built a fucking epic throne.
Nice.
And now I know how to woodwork.
That's fucking awesome.
And I think that that's, like, maybe not, I'm not going to make, like, the most sturdy table in the world, but why would I want to? But I could build you a throne. I mean, I think that we are only as limited as we choose to be, and if you want to fucking write poetry without stanzas, who the hell's to tell you can't?
Thank you. I agree. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't
I'm
write
sure you
poetry
benefit
with
a lot.
stanzas either. I hate writing things that rhyme, and like when I'm journaling and I'm just writing things that come out of me, they're more like just stories that sound like they have beautiful cadence in my head when I speak them.
Yeah, I think a lot of poetry is really boring, honestly. Like, fucking, like Poe's okay, but like, like Hemingway, it's like, or I'm struggling to even.
Did Hemingway do poetry?
I mean, he did short stories, but he did some there's a lot of poetry in there, right? Let me think of like a more American poet, like actually.
Who's your favorite?
What do you
Guy's books I've given you. The poet.
Oh, Ian something.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thompson. Ian Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure he would necessarily like it in the sense that, like, he's not my all-time, like, favorite poet. I mean, I like his, like, he's, like, short and to the point, kind of, but, like James Joyce and, like, Langston Hughes, people like that, like, I think back in those days when they were writing poetry was more of a, like, a different type of expression as it is now, you know what I mean? Like, you had words, you would go to, like, places like Mark Twain even, where he would give speeches and give his, like, poetry to large groups of people, and the intent was to, like, captivate them with words, because they didn't have the chance to, like, show them visuals, where we live in a visual society now where people, like, watch 30-second videos on TikTok of, like, crazy stuff, but they're not so much captivated by, like, the sound of somebody's voice inflection, and you know what I mean?
It's very era based. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, my attention span is not, I don't have the attention span for, like, really, for something like that, where you really gotta think about it a long time.
Like, Ian Thomas, to me, like, he'll hit one of his poems is like, I love you like the ocean, and I'm okay with drowning. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of, like, I'm letting you consume me completely, like, and I love you like the ocean because you're vast and huge and stuff. But, like, his stuff is, like, very short and to the point.
I like
in
that.
a sense. You know what I mean? Like, those kind of things where it's, like, he can get you with a couple of sentences, and it's not so much, like, drawn out over, like, Like,
that's what I don't like, is where it just takes forever. And it's, like, I'm an Aries, and I'm very, like, to the point.
I'm an Aries rising.
Really?
So
What's your sun sign?
Pisces.
Okay.
Scorpio moon.
Gotcha. I'm Aries, Libra.
Nice.
Yeah. Something like that. But, like, the way I write is very reflective of my personality, where I'm very to the point. I'm, like, I don't try to waste, like, anyone who's, like, reading what I'm doing, it's like, I'm not trying to waste your time. It's, like, very to the point kind of stuff in storytelling and in poetry.
Yeah.
But I like the example you just gave me. Like, it's very quick.
Yeah.
And, like, hits you also.
Yeah. It's like, like in have you ever seen, like, Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
The best.
Where, like, where God's like, get on with it. Sometimes I feel like that listening to people, you know what I mean, in the poetry sense or whatever. It's like, like, okay, like, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. And they literally go through, like, 1,000 different things. And you're like, oh my God, get on with it, please.
Yeah.
Where I'm not saying that I have an instant gratification mind, because I can listen to, like, a 15-minute Opeth song and just love the way it moves, and it feels like a symphony to me of, like, metal and stuff. But, like, sometimes, I just want to, like, get that emotion, like, quick,
What are you listening to right now? not like right now, but, like,
a whole ton of Viagra Boys. I'm obsessed with them. They're so good. I don't know if you are familiar.
Are they hard?
No.
He said, are they hard?
No.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
I've heard a song or two, yeah.
Yeah, I
They're
love
cool.
them so much. I've listened to them a lot lately. Like, a whole like weird variety, random stuff. I listen to this band called Bodega a lot.
Derek consumes more music than anyone I've ever known. The playlists are so long, and he probably listens to 100 different artists a day.
Damn.
It's
Lots of music.
He's the ultimate music discovery.
Gotcha.
I never listened to music much before him. I'm not really the biggest consumer, and then he came into my life and started making me playlists and introducing me to all kinds of cool stuff, and I listen to so much more music because of him.
yeah.
What have you been listening to now?
I usually don't even know because I just put the playlists on and I love them, but I don't, I'm definitely in a bit of a Radiohead phase. I really love Radiohead.
Yeah.
I love music that's very calming and chill because I think my brain is very hyper all the time for creating things, and music's always in my head, so I like listening to things that kind of like chill me out.
Yeah. It's very vibey music you guys make
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even like putting on like meditation music.
Mm.
That's the things that I gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But I also like there's a lot of things that I love. What do I love? I can't even think of it.
Idols.
I love Idols. I love Idols a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we list like it. Music for me represents like such
Exactly.
a spectrum
Yeah,
of
it's a
emotions. So
mood.
some days I could be like really angry and want to listen to like metal. Other days I'm like I just need to relax, so we'll listen
I always
to
know
Radiohead.
how his mood is based on the music he's listening to. The second I hear metal, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's like it's a way to like get an emotion out of you or kind of like calm it. Even though I'm
Yeah.
like, if I'm aggressive feeling and listening to metal, it's not because I want to increase my aggression. It just feels like I'm just like exercising the demons in a sense. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I can totally relate. It's like I do what I do because I have to,
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter if anyone sees it or enjoys it. It's
Yeah.
like that's an exorcism.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like Black Angels, they're an awesome band
Yeah,
we
I love
love.
them.
Like I love them because they can go like harder at moments, but like I just love the psychedelic elements of it all, where it feels like my brain is just kind of floating along in some like.
I was a really
thing.
big fan of Passover. That was a good album.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. And you know we've seen them a bunch of times, and you know like I don't know, I kind of like with Viagra Boys. It's like their music is goofy, like their lyrics are kind of like, you know, they sing about like a lot of random stuff in it, and at the base of it all you're just kind of like, okay, so it's not like these deep thought-provoking lyrics, it's like goofy
Fun.
shit, but it's like they just rock and they're so awesome to see live, and I don't know, I just feel so good when I listen to them. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I'm in like heavy writing phases, like writing a lot of music, I listen to less music. So it kind of, yeah, it just depends on what's happening.
That makes sense. Yeah, you know what your voice is at that point. It's like less clouded.
Some musicians say that they don't like listening to a lot of stuff while they're writing just because they don't want to like have it inadvertently influence.
Yes.
It can accidentally be on, like if I'm listening to a lot of like Coldplay, I may like be drawn to use more like synths and like just because that's what's in my head. And so I prefer to not have anything in there and just be more clear.
Yeah. It's like no influences. It's like truer to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really the person when people ask for influences or what influenced this record, what influenced your sound. I'm always
Me.
like, I don't freaking know because I purposely try not to think about that at all, and I don't try to take from other things. I just sit with it with myself and figure out what needs to be expressed through me.
It's like my influence is me, my inner voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Besides music, have you guys taken in any media that's been good recently?
We really love shows. we just finished part 1 of You.
Okay, yeah, I've seen a little bit of that.
And we finished Lock and Key. We just watched that, so that
Oh,
was really,
yeah.
really fun.
I like that one.
That was good.
And His Dark Materials.
Oh, His Dark
Oh,
Materials
yeah.
is excellent.
I haven't seen the show, but I've read all those books.
Watch it. It's great.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, we love getting into shows and movies. Like, we love visual media too.
I am really, really, really excited about the Barbie movie.
Me too.
And I'm like, I haven't been this excited
oh my
about a
gosh,
movie
that's awesome.
in a long time.
I'm excited about the Barbie movie.
Yeah,
Should be great.
it looks really good.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna be about exactly, and I don't really care. The trailer was
It's
enough.
about time they made one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be like kind of like Lego Movie. You can see that,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Or it's- where it's like, it's a kid movie, but it's just like really, really good.
Mhm.
You know?
I just saw a movie. What's that movie called? The Tom Hanks movie I just saw?
A Man Called Otto or something.
Otto. Oh my gosh. I cried the whole movie. It was like one slow tear that continually fell the whole movie. But it's hard to make me cry in a movie, but it was excellent. The storytelling was amazing, the acting was amazing. It was like both feel good and horribly sad. Like I left that theater just completely speechless and like I just need to go home and get in bed.
You said Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That was a great movie. Kind of an unexpected thing I saw.
I feel like there was something else I watched recently. It was really good. And it's escaping me now. I'll probably remember in a minute. Do you guys have any ghost stories? And when I say that, something that's happened to you that you can't really rationalize with logic.
I have a ghost named Eugene who lives with us. He first came into my life and I was in my apartment many years ago and I was sleeping and the way it was I had it was like a 2-story apartment where the downstairs was like the living room and kitchen and then you went up these stairs and the bedroom was up by itself and I was sleeping and I had the door shut to my bedroom and I like woke up to the sound of like banging on my bedroom door and I like wasn't even scared. I was just mad that something woke me up and so I just went over to the door and obviously nothing was there. But then after that I had like all these things that would happen. Like I was watching TV and it looked like someone was like doing this to the blinds. Like it was just like a finger. It was like going up and down like my blinds and I just like watched it for a few minutes and then it like stopped. But like hard blinds, like it's just fucking weird. And then my dog would like go to the corners and just start barking and like there's just all kinds of stuff that happened. And then when we moved to this new place, I think he came with us because there's plenty of weird things that have happened. And I have a medium that I love that's in my life and we've both seen many times. She's a friend of ours and she's been through the house and cleared it of its, ghosts. There's a time period where my big dog wouldn't leave my parents' bedroom. The house has there's like the living room and then a balcony and then their bedroom and he wouldn't like come out of the bedroom and walk down the hall. Like he'd just freeze. He was so scared. And after my medium came and cleared the house, he like walked fine. Like he didn't even bat an eye anymore. I love ghosts.
I don't have so okay. So I just want to preface this quick story with I can't really say if it was a ghost or not because
Sure. Yeah.
so
So I tried to preface it a little
Can you
better.
ever?
Yeah, but
I've never.
I named Eugene so he felt less scary to me
Yeah.
when I was living alone. I was like, nothing named Eugene can be that frightening, so that was why he got his name.
there was a moment okay, so I used to work in like hospital settings a lot, and an emergency room in New York. And there was a man who had come in and he had been electrocuted and he was like hanging on to life, and I was in the room that they were working on him because I guess part of my job was to like talk to the families, but his wife was in there and they were like pumping on this guy's chest trying to like save his life, and there was like nurses and doctors everywhere and you could hear his heart monitor. They're like trying to keep him alive, and then the moment this guy died, this intense cold wave of air blew through the room, like through everyone, like you felt it hit you, and every one of us just looked at each other like, what the hell was that? At the very moment this guy died, we all felt that wave of like cold. It was like somebody just turning on the AC and it hits you and then it's gone. And I've never been able to explain it, and everybody who is in that room talks about that. And I mean, I've seen many people die working in a hospital, but I don't know if it was because he was electrified, because he was electrocuted or what, but whatever happened when that
energy was super charged.
his energy made, I don't know, I have no explanation, but it was the most unusual, weird feeling that I've never been able to explain. And it just happened at the moment that they were like, you heard the heart monitor, it stopped, his heart was done, and then boom, you just felt him.
Your ghost story's
Yeah.
cooler than mine.
I don't know if it's a ghost. I don't know what it was. It could just be some weird transference of energy of something. But I felt something, and I was like, I don't know what the hell that was.
I think anyone that so a lot of people that don't think magic and things like spirits exist, I think the problem they have is that it's right in front of them. It's like what we're doing right now is magic. Like, I'm just making lip flaps, and it's like somehow meaning is getting through. And it's like, it's very, very mundane, you know? And it's like, so I think people think of it in terms, let's say like the layman, like people on average think of it in terms of like fantasy. It's like things that cannot happen, like shooting fire out of your hands or flying, things like that. And it's like specifically in that realm. Where was I going with that? But I think like when you start to like the people that take it seriously and like you start studying those people like Aleister Crowley or Peter Carroll or Phil Hines, those people are very quick to tell you that we don't know what the fuck is going on. It's like I have no idea, you know? And I think that's we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like we have some educated guesses about things, but if you think about it, like science is really the same way. And it's like we have some good guesses and that's about it.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why it changes.
Yep.
A lot.
Yep. And yeah, it's like to put faith in science is a silly thing because it's like to follow the scientific method is to challenge your beliefs. And it's like, I think a lot of the confusion is the English, like the language around it, where it's like, if I say something was real, it kind of, that colloquially would be like here, like present, like on this plane. But it's like, if I say it's imaginary, that makes it sound like it's just in your head. And it's like, the answer is neither. It's neither here nor just in your head. It's just in another spot. And it's like, and I think that is an understood definition of real, like just tangible, physical. But I think that can get confused. I guess to really boil down what I'm saying, like we don't understand the imagination and like what...
We don't understand what's real either.
Yeah. Like,
when you start getting into quantum mechanics and doing exercises like that where you're going to close your eyes, and if your eyes are closed, does all of this really exist?
Yeah.
Do you even know?
And it's become, like, from what I understand about, like, them getting into quantum entanglement and stuff, the more we understand, it's less and less looking that way. It's like, really is mind over matter kind of thing.
Your perception really is all that is there.
Yep. It's everything. It raises a lot of serious questions about reality. I'm not necessarily sure that there isn't anything here, but I think we change it, we alter it, just by being around it, you know? And it's like, I don't know. How do you think, not life necessarily, but like human life came to be?
No freaking idea.
Yeah, me
I
either.
never think about it either. It just did. It just is.
It's just here.
Well, it's like, I think about it in the sense of like, I mean, a human to me, from, the things I barely know, but like, human life on this planet started at like from a long process of like evolution. Like we started as like, small organic cells that eventually, because of their environment, changed how we got here exactly like we are right now, talking and communicating. There's theories of like, did
Yeah.
our ancestors eat a whole bunch of magic mushrooms that like created new synapses in their brains, and then they started communicating more, creating art.
Stoned
I
ape
mean,
theory.
humans are
Yeah.
basically magic.
Well,
We're the expression of some form of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like how it all began, like what's beyond the edges of the universe? Are we in some type of like, because to like microscopic cells, we are
God.
their universe, their everything, so like are we literally just like a tiny speck of someone else's giant science experiment?
Yeah.
Like are there things,
no
creatures
way
on
we'll
the
ever
outside
know.
reaches of the universe who are literally like, like are we like a speck on the back of a dog somewhere, universal cosmic creature that we don't even know? You know what I mean? Are black holes like, like when you look at cells, like they look like mini universes where it's like, we got like the nucleus, is that the sun? You know what I mean? Like like the ways we could think about it are endless. So,
It seems to me like it's because it's like you're saying, like you split open a nucleus and look in there, and it's like it looks like a galaxy.
Yeah.
And that just, to me, it comes back to like an ancient alchemical principle of like as above, so below, and that basically tells me if I can see something, that tells me how everything works. I can gain knowledge about the universe by looking at literally anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's like so that would make sense to me, that we are something.
Especially if you take magic mushrooms and then look at that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this guy Kalindi Lee. He is this shaman guy in Africa, and he takes psilocybin in the range of like 30 to 50 grams,
Jeez.
which is like, that's a lot of mushrooms.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Like I think the most I've done, and that's a lot, is like somewhere between like 8 and 10.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I just had my first mushroom
Really?
trip,
Okay,
like,
I'll
2
come back
weeks
to
ago.
Kalindi Lee. Tell me about that.
He knew I was going to bring it up the second you talked about magic. It was amazing. It changed
Nice.
my life in a lot of ways. Like, it was a very important night, I think, for me and my perception of things and releasing some things. It felt like a great reset. I was able to go in and heal and clear a lot of, like, I think energetic gunk that was, like, in me for a lot of reasons. Things I've been, like, working on in therapy for years that, like, have shifted slowly, but, like, that I was able to just go in and, like...
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
can
eating
be.
books.
Yeah,
It's
like what?
eating knowledge. Like, I think your perception is, like, here, and then
I
all
like
of a
that.
sudden you're, like... You just, and it's not like stoner knowledge where you're just like, hey, what about this? And then you're like, you're not stoned and you're like, oh, that was a really like dumb thought, but like kind of funny. Like mushroom knowledge is not that way. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like you've ingested something that is smart. Like,
There's
intelligence there.
I think it's a type of technology, like organic technology, and I think there's something in there, like. Things like salvia and ayaboga have and psilocybin too, like long-standing history of like them saying like, no, there's a goddess inside that you interact with.
When I had taken them, I thought that like I felt like I could understand every book that's ever been written about philosophy or spiritualism in any way. Like you just like oh yeah, like I've read that and I thought I understood that, but now I like can feel that. Like I actually physically can see and feel what they're talking about.
Yeah. Kalindi Lee takes these huge mushroom doses, like filling up his stomach with mushrooms, and looks at tapestries, like labyrinth rugs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Turkish rugs, things like that. And he talks about how when you're in that mind state, it's like a cipher to access the Akashic record, which is like a library of all information, past, present, future. And he talks about how you can get there through just complex geometry and psychedelics.
Well,
Which-
the visuals that come are very geometric.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was one time when we were hugging, and I was like, it feels like a cathedral is being made, like, in my brain, and I was like, I wonder if the architects that, like, built cathedrals in the early days were doing psychedelics, because to me that was what a lot of the imagery looked like for me,
Mm,
the visuals.
that's cool. I've had a lot of architecture on, like, DMT before. Like, living architecture.
Mm.
Like, buildings that are looking at you. Seems to be a lot of that. Like Alex Gray, the guy who does all the tool artwork. It's all very DMT influenced, and a lot of that's living architecture too.
That's so cool.
He just finished. Him and his wife Allison Gray just finished the Entheon. You guys heard about this?
No.
Hey Phil, can you pull it up for me? You have my phone.
No.
I have it.
Okay, yeah, it's called the Entheon. Entheon. And it's basically, they started a religion called the Church of Sacred Mirrors.
Yes, I know. Yeah. I bought a couple of his prints
Yeah.
back in the day.
So they've finished this now, and they're letting people come do tours and stuff.
Is this real?
Yeah. I mean, that picture you showed me just now,
But
that image is not real,
yeah.
but they have finished that building now.
Oh wow. How cool.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And it's a religion, but that's for like taxes, and so they can do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, but like, it's all about
It's very cool.
they have these things called sacred mirrors, where basically they would show me like, or like if you went, they would show you like just a woman, and then they would show you like a more like androgynous person with like no skin, just like muscles, and then like a skeleton, and then just like light, and basically get you to identify with each of these things, and that's a sacred mirror.
That's so
Basically.
cool.
Yeah, and their artwork is all about like showing you the divine and your relationship to it, like through pieces of art, which I think is a very noble thing to do with art.
I think art is definitely our connection to the divine.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier, I don't necessarily think that starts with us. Like, there are a lot of examples of like reasons I think aliens have interacted with Earth, whether that's like interdimensional or extraterrestrial. I guess before I get too far into that, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Do you think aliens have ever been to Earth? Extraterrestrials, do you think something from off our planet has ever come here and interacted with Earth? Or do you think they currently do?
It's another one of those same kinds of answers for me. Like, I have no idea. And probably, maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of things that have been very unexplainable, or like people that have had experiences that I've listened to that I'm like, I mean, it sounds pretty legit, but there's just no way for me to personally know unless I had that experience.
I think, and that's a lot of the questions I'm bombarding you guys with right now, is stuff like no one on Earth has a good answer to. But I just like to get different opinions about it.
I think probably, yes.
I think, this is going to sound weird, but I think there's a higher chance that we've been interacted with interdimensionally than there is extraterrestrially, because the universe is so vast and massive that even if it was like thousands of years ago that we were visited by someone, like we're such a tiny speck of a dot in the middle of this ocean of vastness that like even like back like 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, there was like no radio signals coming off of
but
the
their
Earth.
Civilizations were massive and like so intelligent.
Yeah, but to me, like, to find that tiny needle in a haystack of human life growing, it's like random. But if there's like some type of interdimension beyond that like wall that we don't know, like they say, like atoms make up everything, right? But like no atom is ever in the same place at the same time, and sometimes they just vanish and nobody knows exactly where they go.
Mm.
Do they go to another dimension? Are they existing on another dimension? That's like where quantum mechanics and all that crap get crazy. But like, to me, like there's a chance, but like,
I'm sure we've made contact though with something.
yeah,
Whether they
who
came
knows?
here or
Maybe
we've
they
made
live in a
contact.
ghost world, and
Even if we
like,
don't know we have.
yeah.
I mean, think of even meditating and doing things like that. Like, you can reach heights where, you know, you're kind of going to new places.
Yeah.
And through things like drugs.
Arts
like,
and psychedelics, it's like...
I mean, even, with art, like, where are you drawing that from? Like, that could be our, you know, way that we communicate with beings, like, our ideas that come to us. Like, there are plenty of instances where, like, you could have an idea for something, and then you don't see it through maybe, and then someone else, like, you see that someone else did that exact same fucking idea that you maybe didn't see through. That happens to me all the time, or things that, like, people have beat me to because I've dragged my feet on certain things. Like, that idea, like, for people to have the same ideas, like, I think ideas have consciousness. Like, even in, like, his Dark Materials, the show we watched, like, there, you know, are those beings, they call them angels, but they're, like, you know, interdimensional beings that, you know, are basically energy that are, like, coming and they speak to you and guide you whether you know that they're here or not.
Yeah.
Energy, like, you know, I mean, you can wake up one day and have a completely different energy than you had the day before, or, like, you know, things I think are tapping on you all the time that you can choose to pay attention to or not.
It also even pulls out the question, like, can you comprehend the uncomprehendable in the way that, like, for, like, I don't know if this story is 100% true. I've heard it, but they say that when the Spanish came to the New World and the Aztecs and, you know, all the indigenous peoples, they didn't have the ability to see their ships in the bay for a few days because their brains couldn't comprehend ships and things of that nature. So it took them a while for their brains to acclimate. And you think about it, like, we're all acclimated to things like cell phones, iPhones, but if you go back 1,000 years and hand somebody an iPhone, will they even understand, like, can their brains even process what it even is? So,
wow.
Like, are we
You'd just be looking
surrounded
at
by
light,
stuff we
really
just cannot understand, and they could be there all the time. We just
Exactly.
don't notice them because our
That's
brains can't
what I
fathom.
think
That's
when
interesting.
you play with things like meditation and, like, those kinds of deep spiritual exploration type things, like, you start to gain that, like, extra level of awareness and I think sensitivity to it. Like, I even think that's what mediums and people like that are, like, the ones that I think are actually doing it. Like, the one that I know. Like, to me, like, I mean, I've recommended her to 40 people who've had amazing experiences, to skeptics like us, and I think she is just extra tapped into whatever that, like, network is of energy and has access to things. Like, she does things that are unexplainable.
Like, dude, look, I'm a massive skeptic about so many things. I understand cold readings. I understand mentalists, like, who know these little tricks to get you to, like, almost, like, walk into things. This woman, first time I ever talked to her,
I was like, Derek, you gotta talk to
yeah,
her.
like, I was playing video games, and the second I get this woman on FaceTime, she's like, were you just playing video games? And she starts describing the video game I was just playing with no way to know.
And the guy who was frustrated that he couldn't beat.
Like, it was just like, and I'm like, I asked her, I was like, you know, like, because I never told her I played video games or anything, and it was so specific, and she's like, I can just see it in your head. She's like, I can't explain how.
She do that to everyone that we know. Like, it's
like,
very specific.
Does she do, like, consultations or readings for anybody?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Send
why
me her
I've
info.
recommended,
I'd like to meet her.
40 people to her. And I'm always, like, waiting for that one person who's going to be like, she got it wrong, or she's like, it's never happened. Every single time, it's like she just knew everything that was going on in life so specifically. Like, she's the real deal. She's the real deal.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to her. Send me her
You
info.
should. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's
I
cool.
love her. My whole family sees her.
That's awesome.
And all my friends.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, I didn't believe in that stuff before I met her. And then, yeah, I mean, since then I've met some people that I'm like, I think they just have a greater sensitivity to that. I think artists are that way too. Like, there's artists and there's artists. Like, you know, you can tell from looking at a piece of art, I think, how in tune that is on a deeper level for artistic expression. I mean,
it's like, yeah.
What you're going to hear on mainstream radio isn't probably going to give you the same feeling of something that is a little bit more, I don't know. And not to say that, because there's plenty of stuff that's like out there on mainstream that I think is
Oh, there's an art
artistic.
to
Like, I'm
making
not-
a pop
yeah,
hit.
Exactly. You know, I'm not
There's an
saying
art to that.
But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, I think when you digest a piece of art, like, you can kind of feel it's... I felt this on the mushrooms. There were certain songs that would play, or things I would look at that I would be like, this has, like, greater frequency, greater resonance. Like, even listening to our playlist, like, I loved listening to some of the Radiohead music, and then there was one song I remember that played that I was just like, this is not his best work, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that's like, I could just feel that song didn't resonate the same as the others.
Yeah.
And we all do that. We all make art that's like maybe not as good as something else that we made. It doesn't mean we shouldn't make it, but I think that sometimes like the art we make, it's like, you know, you feel those times when you're just really in the flow, or when like ideas are just like this came to you and you're seeing it through, and then the times where you're trying hard to like reach for it or grab it or force it.
Yeah.
And I
Trying to
think
make it
that's kind of,
happen
like, its
versus just
energetic
like a natural
frequency.
flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you mean for sure. It's like there's two different things. There's like this thing that we're like kind of hard to explain, and then there's like this thing that's like designed for people, and it's like there's an art to that, like
Exactly.
making the radio hit.
Absolutely.
Like,
Do you feel this though when you write poetry? Like sometimes for me, like when I'm busier or less, having less time for myself or time to like work on my mind, like I'll have a harder time accessing that flow state, and I spend a lot of time on meditation and self-care and like getting myself in that right mind space to be able to receive things, because I won't go force them and reach them, and so if I'm not making that time for myself, they won't come as much.
yeah, that makes sense. I don't do as much like self-care in terms of like,
That could be anything for you, whatever your
Yeah.
version of self-care is. I'm just curious. There's times that are easier for you to access your poetry, and if you
Well,
see that mirroring in your life habits.
Well, I was gonna say I might benefit from like taking more time for myself to just think, and like maybe I don't know, just do things like for myself, take time, because I don't have that on command.
Mm-hmm.
It's very it usually comes to me when I'm doing something else, like if I'm supposed to be working on something else, that's a great time for inspiration. That's like that stuff's flowing, you know.
That's when your ideas are like, no, pay attention
Yeah.
to this.
And that's pretty much all my poetry is a streamlined consciousness thing. And then like I take that back. I'll have an idea and then I'll like refine it basically. But when I'm working on a book, that's a conscious effort. That's me sitting down at a desk and making a conscious effort to write something. And I might have ideas spinning in my head, but like that's me like really organizing everything and putting it somewhere, I guess. So it depends what I'm doing. It's like a different process. You were talking about the throne you built earlier. I don't know anything about woodwork, but I built a giant cross for an art project one time. Me and my partner at the time had decided we were going to make this project where she was naked on this cross, and we took all the pictures at night, but like it was like a female Christ kind of thing is what we were going for. And but yeah, I built this giant 8-foot cross. Funny story about that. Before I'd finished it, I had like dug a hole for it, and the night before, I've been trying to lucid dream.
Love lucid dreams study.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do it on airplanes, and that was about it.
Oh, that's cool. I've only ever done it once, and it's because I was trying to. I got this book that was telling me about how to practice lucid dreaming.
Is
like
it the one with the blue cover?
I don't have it anymore. I can't remember. But it was like, you know, keeping a journal. Like that way when you wake up the next morning, you write everything down. It like puts your mind in a conditioned state to like try and remember things throughout the night. and then like picking a focus, something to manifest in the dream. And I chose a black cat as my focus. And I wasn't able to make it happen in the dream, but I did lucid dream. The next day in reality, a black cat wandered up to our house and came up to my girlfriend, and this stray cat came up to her and like let her pick it up and like brought it inside, and that's just our cat. But then like we went and got a bunch of stuff that night. Like I spent a whole bunch of money on this cat, and then we went to work the next day, and we came back, and it's like, okay, something's wrong with this cat. It's clearly not okay. And so we took it to the vet, and they're like, yeah, this cat's not doing good. And so we had to get it put down, but when we brought it back, I already had a grave dug for this cat. I didn't know I was digging a grave at the time, but here I am needing to dig a grave, and I already have this hole dug. And so we put him in there and put this 8-foot cross on top of him. So this cat has like the best headstone
Oh my god.
ever. Yeah.
That's crazy.
awesome.
It's just funny how things happen like that sometimes.
Like I was
Yeah.
telling him earlier about like my album, I wrote a song about it being in a plane crash, and then I was in a plane crash. And that became the entire blueprint for my entire project, was about that plane crash and the trauma healing that came after it and all the phases of trauma. That's the entire record's about.
If you said that earlier, I missed it. You were in a
did.
plane crash?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, in 2013, it's a Southwest flight pilot error, and she crashed the landing gear into the plane, and we slid 2,000 feet and caught on fire, and it was insane. And I had a few months prior written a song called Crash Landing, and then all of the news headlines were Crash Landing in LaGuardia. And that's why I say that for me, like, a life has imitated art, sometimes not just art imitating life, and I think art can be a manifestation tool, whether that's a good thing or not. That experience, even though it was incredibly traumatic, was like one of my favorite experiences I've ever been through. As much pain as it's caused me, it forced me to become a way different person than I was before, and gave me the platform for this entire album of self-discovery.
That's crazy. That we were just talking, me and Neve were just talking the other day about like one of us will write something, and then like years later be reading that and be like, I didn't know I did that.
Yep.
Like I didn't realize there was more to it than I even realized when I made that.
I love retroactively looking at art that I've made years before and thinking from my now perspective what I was going through at that time. And because of the way that I make art is not always like from here, it's not always like conscious, like this is what I'm making. It's more like this is what I'm bringing in and feeling, that usually I don't know what I've made until later, and then I can look back and be like, that was what it was about. Even if at the time I think, okay, this is what I'm making, usually later I will have so many more insights about what I was making in hindsight. I love that.
Yeah. It raises the questions again, like what even is that, you know? Yep. Bones is out now as this is up.
Yes. Fifth story in the series.
Yeah. And then your album is Petite Mort.
Petite Mort.
Is out sometime in March.
5/5, Cinco de Mayo.
Sometime May. Oh, May. My
Cinco
bad.
de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
That would be the 5th of May,
5th
Alice,
of
if you're
May.
not savvy on your translation.
Yes, this album and all of its videos and all of its story.
It's been a really great time talking to you guys.
Yeah, man.
been
Thank you so much for
awesome.
chatting with us.
Thank you.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you for your awesome questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you guys want to come back, help you promote
We'd
something,
love to.
for sure.
Definitely.
Should do something around the album. I can
Hell yeah.
give you those stories prior so you can dive into
Okay.
some of the craziness that it's
Bet.
about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then March 23rd, you can catch them at the East Room as well. That's going to be a really great show. I had it in my head and I just lost it. What were the two acts they're playing with you?
Maine and Moonlight
Moonlight
Drive.
Drowns.
Yeah, Moonlight Drowns as
I
well.
was gonna call them something else. Chris is gonna slap me in the face for that.
Yeah,
Moonlight
and
Drowns
Athena.
And Athena.
And Athena. That was
Athena
it.
has an X in her name, right?
Yes.
ATHXNA.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll know if you're not there, Alice, because I'm gonna be there. So, if you're not, I'll beat you up. Bye.